filament on your Robo E4 Pro is really simple. The first thing you need to do is, on the menu, look for the filament icon and click on it. Then, select whether you would like to load or unload filament. If you have filament already loaded in your machine, unload first before loading. But in this video, since I have no filament loaded, I'm going to start with load. Once I click load, it will ask me to make sure there's no filament already loaded, so I'll click OK, and then select the material type. If you are working from any of the 10 packs or filament that came with your printer, select PLA. Once you've selected a material, it will work on heating up to the proper temperature for that material, and will move the extruder from the back corner more towards the central part of the machine where it is easier for you to access. While it is doing that, get your filament out of its plastic container that it came in and look at the end of it. You want to make sure that the end of your filament is not any sort of bumpy or scraggly or has any sort of kinks in it. You want to make sure you reduce as much friction as possible to ensure that it loads properly. To do that, use the tool that came with your machine that looks like a little bit of wire clippers and just snip off the end of your filament. If you don't have those, you can use scissors or even just bend it back and forth a few times to create a nice smooth ending. Then open up the side door on your 3D printer and look for the spool holder on the side. Load your spool of filament onto it such that the filament comes around from the bottom and then up. This will again reduce friction and ensure that you have easily and properly loaded the filament. Now, if you are working with another brand of filament, it may not sit perfectly on the spool where it's coming from the bottom and then up. In that case, you may have to rotate it around so that it'll come from the top, and this will have a little bit more friction. It may impact your print quality, but it will allow you to use non-Robo brand filament on this machine, depending on how their specific spools are designed. Once your spool is on the spool holder, feed the filament up through the tube on the front edge, and then as it gets out of reach, you want to open the top section of your 3D printer and look for the tube up there. You may have to feel around for a little bit and find it, and then continue pushing until the filament comes all the way out the other side. Once the extruder is fully heated, it will ask you to push on the side button here on the side of your extruder and insert the filament into the top. Once you've done so and it's fully heated, it will start pulling it through the machine. And you will see that the filament actually loads out the bottom of the machine right here. If a different color of filament was loaded previously, such as in our test when we do this at the factory, a different color may come out first, so wait until you see the color that you've loaded. Click Done on the screen, and then remove any of the filament that was loaded from the printer so that you have a clear build plate when you get to start printing. Now, when you have filament loaded and you're looking to unload it, instead of selecting Load on the filament menu, you will select Unload. Again, select the filament type of the filament that is already loaded into your machine. It will heat up to the temperature appropriate for that type of material, and once again, move the extruder to the center so it is easier for you to access. Once it's heated up, it will ask you to push the filament down into the extruder first and then pull to remove it. This will help prevent any future jams or clogs that may happen in the extruder. Look for that same side button that we used unloading. Once it tells you it's ready, push it in, push the filament through the extruder, and then quickly pull it out to unload your filament. Once you've done that, on the side of your machine, spool the filament neatly back onto the spool, and make sure that you set it up in such a way that it won't be likely to get tangled, as that can cause errors with future prints. So always store your filament neatly and in a zip bag with a desiccant package if possible to reduce any exposure to humidity. This will just help increase the lifespan of your 3D printer filament. But there you go, you now know how to unload and load filament on your Robo E4 Pro. Once you're all done, close up the machine and you're ready to get printing.